Last week, I made a video looking back at my preseason NHL standings predictions to kind of see how they've aged now that we are in the closing stretch of the regular season, and you guys showed a ton of support on that video and really seemed to enjoy it. So yesterday, I was looking back at some more prediction videos that I made before this season began to see what we could do next, and I decided to look back at my 5 bold predictions that I made before this season began. I'm going to say the same thing right now that I said in the beginning of the last video we did like this. I don't want to be the only one roasting myself for predictions that I made that aged very poorly. So let me know down below in the comments, what are some predictions that you guys made before the regular season began that have not aged well? You could also let me know some predictions that you made that are looking very good. If you guys have been enjoying these videos where we look back at some of my predictions and you want to see more on the channel in the future, then be sure to leave this video a like. Let's see if we can hit 800 likes on this one. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want NHL content just like this all year round, hit that subscribe button. And with that all being said, let's go ahead and start the video off with a prediction that I have beat myself up for all season long, and that is saying that the Boston Bruins will miss the playoffs this year. Not only was that a prediction that I made in this bold predictions video, I also had them missing the playoffs in my season standings prediction video that we looked back on in the most recent video like this. I'm pretty sure I had Boston finishing as the 6th seed in the Atlantic behind teams like Ottawa, Buffalo. Looking back in hindsight, just an absolutely brutal prediction. I really think I just overthought this one. Sure, they got worse on paper, especially when you look at their forward group from last season compared to this season, but the defense remained pretty much the same, which was such a big reason why they were so good last season, and same with the goaltending duo of Swayman and Ullmark. Again, a massive reason why they were so good last season. They would have had to have a pretty massive collapse to go from 135 points, I think it was last season, to missing the playoffs this season. The cutoff line for the playoffs this season in the Eastern Conference is looking like it's going to be around 92 points, so Boston would have had to finish with, what, like 45 less points than they did last season. For an organization that is as well ran as the Boston Bruins are, and for a team that is as well coached as the Bruins are, that was just never going to happen. The Bruins really have that next man up mentality where it doesn't matter who's in the lineup, they don't change the way they play, and they always seem to get the most out of guys. They made some really good budget signings in the offseason, bringing in guys like James Van Riemsdyk and Morgan Geekie. You got guys like Charlie Coyle and Trent Frederick having career years. The Boston Bruins are an absolute wagon, and not only did they not completely fall off of a cliff and miss the playoffs like I predicted them to, they currently lead the entire NHL with 97 points and are on pace to win their 2nd consecutive President's Trophy, which would make them just the 7th team in NHL history to do so. Moving along to the next bold prediction that I made before the season began, staying in the Atlantic Division, another team that I predicted to miss the playoffs as a bold prediction, the Florida Panthers, who are currently just 3 points back of the Boston Bruins with 2 games in hand for first place in the Atlantic Division and the entire NHL. So the 2 teams that are ranked number 1 and 2 in the entire NHL right now, I predicted to miss the playoffs before the season began. That's honestly kind of impressive. I must have some kind of superpower. So if I predict your favorite team to miss the playoffs next season, just know there's a very good chance they may end up winning the President's Trophy. In my defense, I do feel like this bold prediction was a little bit more valid than predicting Boston to miss the playoffs. I know Florida just went to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they barely squeaked into the playoffs. If it wasn't for a fantastic late season stretch from Alex Lyon, then that run to the Stanley Cup Finals would have never happened. I wasn't really that high on the Florida Panthers heading into this season, didn't really know what to expect from Sergei Bobrovsky, which version of him they were going to get this year. Were they going to get the Sergei Bobrovsky who was very mediocre in the regular season last year, or were they going to get the Sergei Bobrovsky who was dominant in the playoffs in that Stanley Cup final round? 2 of their top 3 defensemen in Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad were also set to miss the first month or so of the regular season, and on paper without those 2, the blue line looked pretty rough. I expected the Florida Panthers to struggle mightily without those 2 guys in the lineup, but they didn't. Players like Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Nico Mikkola, who the Florida Panthers signed in the offseason, really stepped up and did well, playing top 4 minutes until Montour and Ekblad returned. It should also be noted that the team defense as a whole has been fantastic from the start of the season all the way up until now. Every single player on that roster is completely bought in to the way that Paul Maurice wants them to play. They take care of the puck in all areas of the ice. They're fast, they're physical, they're one of the best forechecking teams in the league. They come at you in waves, they wear opponents down, they have an identity, and it's been a recipe for success this season. The Florida Panthers look like a legit Stanley Cup favorite right now. This next bold prediction, it has not aged nearly as bad as the first 2 we've talked about so far in this video, but it still doesn't look great. trade, I said that the Arizona Coyotes would finish this season with a record of 500 or better. If you just look at their record now, seeing them 7 games under 500, then yeah, this bold prediction obviously doesn't look great, but until the wheels completely fell off this team in late January and they decided to go on a 14-game losing streak, this prediction was actually looking pretty good. For a while, it looked like the Arizona Coyotes may be able to hang around and fight for a wildcard spot right up until the end of the season. That obviously didn't end up happening, but I still think this is an organization that is 1000% headed in the right direction. You have a very strong core of players that are already playing in the NHL, including the likes of Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Lawson Krause, Logan Cooley, Matthias Michelli, Barrett Hayton. Guys like Sean Dursey and Connor Ingram have really emerged as big-time pieces for the Coyotes this season as well. And on top of that, they have what in my opinion is a top 10 prospect pool in the NHL and a total of 20 draft picks throughout the first 3 rounds of the next 3 NHL drafts, which is insane. I really don't think it's going to be that much longer until the Arizona Coyotes are perennial playoff contenders. Moving along now to the next bold prediction that I made in that video, I said that Connor Bedard would not win the Calder Trophy, and at the time, I didn't even think this was all that bold of a prediction. Like, I probably had the most confidence in this one coming true more than any other one I made. Betting on the field over a singular person, your odds are usually going to be pretty good. That is, unless you're betting on the field against a singular person that is named Connor Bedard, apparently. Since returning from the fractured jaw, in my opinion, Fishbowl Bedard has absolutely ran away with the Calder Trophy race. He is having one of the best seasons in NHL history by an 18-year-old. He is already far and away the best player on the Chicago Blackhawks. I know a lot of people like to point to his minus 38 and try to discredit the season that he's having and think that that minus 38 is good enough reason for him not to win the Calder. I think that's just an absurd argument. It's not like everyone else on the Chicago Blackhawks are plus players. Like, there's guys on that team that are minus 40, minus 30, minus 34. That team sucks. There is not a lot of talent around Connor Bedard whatsoever, so the fact that he's been able to produce as much as he has is honestly insane. I said this in a recent video, I'm going to say it again here. I actually think Connor Bedard missing the time that he missed with that jaw injury actually ended up helping Connor Bedard's Calder Trophy case more than hurting it. With him out of the lineup, the Blackhawks could not score. The team was borderline unwatchable. He returns and immediately just starts popping off. The Blackhawks are scoring 7 goals a game. Bedard's having 4-point games. He really is the Blackhawks' entire offense. Listen, I think this year's rookie class is great, and I don't mean to discredit the great rookie seasons that players like Brock Faber, Marco Rossi, Pyotr Kochetkov, and Samuel Ersson are having, but Connor Bedard is going to win the Calder Trophy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it at this point. And now finally finishing off the video with the last bold prediction that I made in this video before the regular season began. This is the one that actually hasn't aged poorly, and if the season ended today would be right, and that is that the Detroit Red Wings would finish with a top 10 ranked power play. As of the time I'm recording this today on March the 20th, the Detroit Red Wings currently have the 10th ranked power play in the league at 23.2%. If they're able to maintain this and finish the season in the top 10, then this would be the first time since the 2014-15 season since the Red Wings have a top 10 power play in the NHL. So almost a full decade, which is just nuts. I remember when I made this video, my reasoning for thinking that the Red Wings could have one of the better power plays in the league this season is because Steve Yzerman went out and brought in a legit power play quarterback in Shane Gostisbehere and a pure sniper and a legit one-timer threat in Alex DeBrincat. And those two have definitely spearheaded the Red Wings power play turnaround this season, as Alex DeBrincat is currently tied for the team lead in power play goals with 10, and Shane Gostisbehere leads the Red Wings in power play assists with 23. And somebody who has been key in the Red Wings sustaining this good power play throughout the season, somebody who wasn't even on the team at the beginning of the season, Patrick Kane. Despite the fact that he's played in just 38 games, Patrick Kane is tied for third on the Red Wings in power play assists this season with 11. He's been great at zone entries, and overall just his patience with the puck and his vision adds a whole other element to the Red Wings power play. There's obviously still quite a ways to go, around a month left in the regular season, so things can definitely change, but as of today, I feel pretty good about this bold prediction. It's really the only one that I made that I do feel pretty good about that we talked about in this video. So that is going to wrap up today's video, looking back at the 5 bold predictions that I made prior to this NHL season beginning. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, be sure to let me know down below in the comments what are some predictions that you made before the regular season began that have aged poorly. And don't lie, I know there's probably some of you that got some good ones. If you guys have been enjoying these videos where we look back at predictions that I made before the regular season began and see how they've aged up until this point, then leave this video a like. That is definitely the best way to let me know that you enjoyed. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want NHL content just like this all year round, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all again soon.